Hi guys. So one of the things that I'm going to do on this Patreon account is do shadow work with you guys and post videos about that. So as you kind of read in the introduction, shadow work is all about looking at your characteristics. I say it like that and I pause because a lot of times in 12-step programs or even in therapy or somewhere, they talk about them in a very negative way. They talk about character defects. And I understand that verbiage. However, I don't really agree with it. I like to look at it as characteristics that we have that we've abused. So it's an abuse of our own power. So we're going to look at things like if you, by nature, are manipulative. But how do you use manipulation? How do you use that skill set in a positive way as opposed to an abuse of your skill set? And a lot of times we come to these conclusions, these areas of abusing our own power because of some trauma that we've had or some survival skill that we're trying to create or live by. So shadow work really does come in the trauma recovery spot when we're looking at healing and doing that kind of work, because we want to really look at all of our aspects. All of our characteristics, whether it's being judgmental, and you've heard 100 times, like what we judge in others is what we don't like in ourselves. And that's a very true, real statement, but it's not as simple as that. So we have to kind of look at all of those things. Or, why do we have poverty mentality? Why do we think we're not good enough? And what kind of things are we doing to create survival tactics? And, what powers, what characteristics do we have within ourselves that we've done overboard or we've done to hurt other people? Whether it's conscious or not conscious, we get to a certain point in our healing process where we now have to really look at who we are and go beyond the trauma. What are the patterns and habits that we've created for ourselves to survive? And how can we change that? How can we create new patterns and behaviors based on characteristics that we already have? We don't have to become new people. We just have to become healed people. So that beginning post, that paragraph that I wrote about me always wanting to be a fighter and seeking out the chaos. If you had met me 6 years ago, or even at that time when I was a 13-year-old girl, or knew me when I was getting kicked out of high school, you would see that there's a very real mean streak that I used as a survival tactic because I didn't want people to see how sensitive I really was. I didn't want people to see how vulnerable I really was. I didn't want people to see how hurt I really was. So I attacked, and I was always on the defensive. And am I totally over that? Absolutely not. When I get into certain situations, I do still get into a defensive mode, but is it anywhere near how it used to be where I would make people cry? No, not even close. It's not even close to that. But I still have a trigger response of, do I have to be defensive? Do I have to hide? And it's had this huge ripple effect because of where it started and not feeling validated with my emotions and how sensitive I am. The ripple effect is that I've had a really hard time identifying my feelings because I hid them for so long, because it became this survival tactic, because it became a box that I had to live in where when I was younger and I showed emotions, I literally one time had my father, I told him I needed therapy. I was depressed. I couldn't, and I was 18 years old, I think, maybe a little younger, but definitely in high school. And he said to me, you need therapy like you need a new dress, meaning therapy's not going to fix anything. And you know what? Unfortunately, I still kind of can't ever see myself going to therapy, but I did find things that worked for me. I found yoga. I found Coda. I found, shadow work. I found things because that one wasn't an option when I was little, but I needed to heal from all of that. And I needed to find how I identify my own feelings, because that is just one example of many times over and over again where me having a feeling wasn't going to be talked about. wasn't going to be processed, wasn't going to be recognized or valued. And then because of that, I became fucking mean. Like, mean. And yeah, it made a lot of waves in my life. It destroyed a lot of relationships. It definitely took its toll. While I thought I was in their survival lifeboat, I was actually in the chaos lifeboat, making tornadoes all around and leaving, hurt people in my wake. And shadow work is just about that, is about accepting responsibility and looking at my need for protection, my need to fight, my need to seek out chaos, and healing that. And now I don't seek out chaos, but I definitely seek out fun. There's still that energy drive, but I've made it light. I've made that part of my personality, the part that needs that energy. And instead of going into self-destructive mode, I've gone into self-enhancement mode. I take that energy and I make it work for me instead of against me. And that's what shadow work is really finding the moments, finding your characteristics and bringing them back to the light, bringing them back into the light and taking them out of the shadow, making them work for you and not work against you. And it's okay that we've all had things that we've done that worked against us. It is. I mean, it is. We're not perfect. We're just on this journey experiencing things. But what's not okay is when you identify it, when you feel it, when you're in that hamster wheel and you recognize you're in that hamster wheel and you make the decision to get off the hamster wheel. Yeah, at first you're going to look at everybody else's, what they did to you, how you're the victim, your trauma, all that stuff, which is fine. But you have to get to a point next where you look at what you did because of those things and take responsibility for your choices and take responsibility for the ripple effect of your life. It's the only way you're going to change patterns and behaviors is when you look at your own patterns and behaviors, whether they grew from trauma, grew from circumstance, grew from socialized conditioning. The series right now is about shadow work, and I'm going to talk a lot about that as these videos progress. But once you realize that shadow work also lends itself to the law of attraction and manifesting the best life that you can have, you'll get fucking excited about looking at all the things and going, oh my God, what other things have I done wrong? What other self-abuse have I inflicted? How am I taking what's so wonderful inside of me and making it work against me? And that's the fucking beauty of shadow work. And here's the other thing is it doesn't end. It just, you get deeper in the layers. And the more you find out about yourself and the more you correct, like I said, maybe once upon a time I would make people cry. And I literally would get into fistfights and then get kicked out of school. Well, I don't do that anymore. But I still get defensive when I feel somebody attacking something, when I feel called out on my emotions. And I still can't really identify them in the moment. It's a very slow processing for me. But that's amazing, and it's so much better than it used to be. And there's no part of me now that can say, Stephanie, you're a fucking asshole. How do you not know what you're feeling? Which is something I would say to myself in the past, and then that would be a spiral effect. What happens now is I go, okay, I'm feeling something, and maybe I can't identify it, and I'm spiraling out of control, and I'm triggered, and I'm having a panic attack. But instead of ignoring it, I let it happen. I let it pass, and then I try to reflect on it and go, okay, what the fuck was that about, and where did that emotion originate from, and how can I do better next time? How can I do better next time, and how can I not be triggered by these moments? And that's, and we all have our pace of healing, and we all have our pace of self-correcting. Some faster than others, some slower than others. But all you can do is be honest with yourself and trust that you're moving at the pace that's right for you. And keep studying yourself. Keep studying yourself. So I'm going to leave this introductory video just like that, kind of understanding what shadow work is. And as these videos progress, I am going to take out some characteristic traits, you know, things that I've been working on, the negatives and how I turned them into positives, even though I don't like those two words, but how I took them out of the shadow and put them into the light. And if at any time you want to discuss something that you've discovered in yourself, hopefully I will get to a point where we're doing lives and we can have that live conversation and live discussion. But I do think that you can leave comments and posts and on the posts, or even inbox me, and I will respond through these videos as those comments come in. So thank you guys. Thank you for being part of this. Hopefully we will grow in such an amazing direction, and I love you all.